There are lots of important things in Galatians, but I think if I had to really focus what I think is most important in Galatians, it is that Paul is trying to deal with real people in real life situations where there is conflict in a congregation about what it means to be a follower of Christ and what that means in terms of practical daily living as they seek to be faithful in their lives as followers of Jesus. Obviously in Galatians, as becomes very clear in the book, the presenting issue for the Galatians is the whole issue about whether or not they need to be circumcised in order to be a follower of Jesus. And that's created all kinds of conflicts in the congregation, and Paul tries to deal pastorally with that issue. And in order to do that, he really has to say, you got to come clean on what constitutes the gospel. Or really better for Paul, it is to answer the question, what does one need to do in order to be a child of God? Are there requirements that one has to meet, or does it happen in some other way? And to that question, Paul's answer is a resounding yes. It does not hinge on doing certain things, but it hinges on being a hearer of the gospel and the promise of God that we have become children of God through the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, by which, through the Spirit, we are given new life in Jesus' name. What's the importance for Paul of Abraham, whom he refers to a number of times in the epistle, is that Abraham becomes an example of the point that Paul is trying to make. If we talk about what it means to be a child of God, for Paul, the supreme example of a child of God who was a child of God by faith was Abraham. So we could ask the same question that Paul asks for his own followers in Galatia. How does one become a child of God? And his answer is, go back and look at the story of Abraham, and we see there that how Abraham became a child of God was the same way you become a child of God. It is by hearing the promise and believing that God is a faithful God who makes good on the promises. And Paul argues then for Abraham and for everyone who comes after Abraham, there is nothing that can ever separate us from that promise which God makes in the giving of faith, which is the same for Abraham and the same for every Christian who believes in Jesus Christ.